If you've been trying to work out why you feel so stuck, so miserable at work, while everything looks fine on the surface, I want to share something with you. Over the past year, I've read thousands of comments on this channel, and what I found is that most unhappy professionals are hiding something, not from me, but from themselves. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. So this is the video I've been waiting a whole year to make for you. When I started this channel in June last year, I thought I'd be the one doing the teaching. 30 years of leadership, former charity chief exec, I'd seen plenty, and I figured I'd share what I knew and maybe a few people would find it helpful. I was wrong. After reading thousands of your comments, and I don't mean skimming, I mean reading them, thinking about them, sitting with them, reflecting on them, letting them rearrange how I think about all this, I've learned something which has genuinely stopped me in my tracks. The reason so many capable, experienced professionals are unhappy at work isn't just about bad bosses. It isn't just toxic cultures. Those things are real and they're everywhere. But underneath them, there are three things which almost nobody admits. Not in job interviews, not in performance reviews, not even to their partner at the dinner table. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk you through these three truths that I've discovered, or rather, these three truths that the comments on my channel have taught me. I'm going to share some of the exact words that my viewers have shared that have caused me to stop and stare at my screen. And I'm going to tell you why I now believe that the problem is bigger than any one toxic boss, but so is the solution. And before I start, I want to say something to the part of you that's already thinking, so what do I do differently? Because most of us, when we're unhappy at work, we reach for the same solutions. We work harder. We try to communicate better. We read another book on resilience. We put on a tougher shield. We make that solution about changing ourselves. What I want to tell you is something different. What we're going to talk about today doesn't touch any of this. Not because you haven't tried hard enough. You probably have for years. It's because the three things underneath this aren't effort problems. They're not even always you problems. So if you've been waiting to feel together enough, competent enough, or strong enough to face this, you don't need to wait anymore. You just need to see it clearly. If you're new here, my name's Lucy and I'm so glad that you found the channel. Every Wednesday, I upload videos for senior professionals and leaders who want work to lift them up and not wear them down. And if that sounds like where you are right now, hit subscribe. We're building something here and I'd love for you to be part of it. So what does this look like in practice? The first thing that your comments taught me is something that I'm calling the vulnerability trap. And once I saw it, I couldn't stop seeing it. And here's what I mean. Most workplace advice assumes that if you've been targeted, bullied, undermined, excluded, there must be something about you that invited it. Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you're not assertive enough. Maybe you need better boundaries. And I'm not saying that these things don't matter, but your comments have shown me something much more uncomfortable. The people being targeted aren't the weakest people in the organisation. They're often the strongest. Let me read you something. A viewer wrote, always doing the work of the job title above you, but being paid at the job title you hold. Told this is an opportunity to learn for many years. That stopped me. Because what they're describing isn't weakness. They're describing the exact qualities that good leaders are supposed to value. Capability, reliability, the willingness to stretch and step up when it's asked of you. And what I've seen over and over again in your comments is that toxic workplaces don't just tolerate these qualities, they exploit them, they weaponize them. The person who stays late to fix the problem becomes the person who's always expected to stay late. The person who takes accountability also becomes the person who absorbs blame. The person who genuinely cares about doing good work becomes manipulated by criticism because they'll work twice as hard to prove themselves. This is the vulnerability trap. Your best qualities, the things that you're most proud of, become used against you. And because you're a capable person who's used to solving problems, you keep trying to solve this one too. You keep thinking, if I just work harder, if I communicate better, if I prove myself one more time, then it'll stop. It won't. And here's the thing that your comments have made crystal clear to me. The moment you realise this, the moment you see that you're not being targeted despite your strengths, but because of them, something shifts. It stops being about something that's wrong with you. It starts being about what's wrong with this situation. And that's the first step out of this trap. So here's one thing to do differently this week. Think of the quality that you keep getting punished for, whether it's your reliability, your honesty, your work ethic, whatever it is. Write it down as a strength in those words, not as a flaw to try to hide. That single sentence is the beginning of refusing this trap. Now, here's the second thing that I learned from all of you, and this one's deeper. This channel, Lucy on Life, was supposed to be about leadership. In fact, its original name, right back then a year ago, was Lucy on Leadership. It was going to be about careers, about practical strategies for thriving at work. And of course, we do plenty of that on the channel. But what I didn't expect was how many of your comments would be about something far more fundamental, your worth. A viewer wrote to me, "I feel trapped in roles that don't use my higher level skills. And I see younger people with less experience being able to make impressive, confident claims whilst my experience gets buried under the passing of time and in my little helper language." Run that by me again, little helper language. Decades of real experience reduced to a phrase that makes you sound more junior. That's not just a workplace problem, that's a human one. What I'm seeing in your comments is a generation of professionals in your 40s, 50s, 60s who did everything they were supposed to do, got the qualifications, climbed the ladder, hit the targets, and somewhere along the way, they confused what they can do with who they are. And then the workplace changed, or the employer changed, or they changed, and suddenly the transaction stopped making sense. I give you my skills, and you give me security and respect. And when that transaction breaks, they're left holding a CV that looks more like a blank sheet of paper than a career or a life. This is what you could call the conflict between skills versus soul. The skills say you're employable, you're marketable, you're successful. But the soul says, I'm exhausted, I'm bored, and I'm pretending every single day. Your comments have told me that the most painful moment in a career isn't getting fired. It's not being overlooked for promotion. It's that moment often at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep, when you realise that all these impressive things you've done don't answer the one question that matters. What am I actually worth? Not to an employer, but to myself. And here's what I want to say to you directly. If you're in that place right now where you're looking over your CV and it doesn't look like you anymore, or it doesn't feel like you anymore, you haven't done anything wrong. You're not ungrateful. You're waking up, and waking up can be painful, but it's also the beginning of everything that comes next. Here's one thing to try this week. Finish this sentence without mentioning your job title, your salary, or your output. I know I'm good at my job because. Notice how hard that is. That difficulty is the gap between your skills and your soul. And it's a thing worth spending a bit of time to think about. Now, before we go any further, if any of what I'm saying is resonating for you, let me just pause here. I've created a workbook called Should I Stay or Should I Go that helps you work through exactly these questions. It's the same approach that I use with my one-to-one coaching clients. It won't give you the answer, only you can do that, but it will give you a framework to work through, and maybe the answer will become clearer. Right, truth number 3, and I think that this one is the most dangerous because it's the one that keeps people stuck for longer than they need to be. And stuck is probably the single word that comes up most commonly in the comments that people leave me or the messages they send me. Your comments have shown me so clearly something called the golden cage. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you might have heard me talking about something called the golden handcuffs, the maths of it, whether you can afford to leave, whether the numbers add up, how much runway you need. That's real and it matters, especially in today's climate. But what I want to talk about today isn't the spreadsheet version. It's what happens when the cage is invisible to everybody but you, and the people around you think you should be grateful for it. You've got a good salary, maybe a title that people respect. You've got responsibilities that signal that you're important. From the outside, it looks like success, and by many measures, it is. But on the inside, you feel like you're slowly disappearing. The bars of this cage aren't made of obvious toxic workplace features. They're made of things like, I can't afford to take a pay cut. I've invested too much to walk away now. What would I even tell people? At my age, starting over isn't realistic. A viewer wrote this comment on a different video, before I'd even used the phrase myself, to be honest. Some people call this conundrum the golden cage. I would say my workplace is only patchily toxic. But the stresses have mounted and have become hard to tolerate. I'm 64 and need and want to work for a few more years. They didn't get the term from me. They already had the language for it. That's when I knew that this wasn't just my idea. It's something a lot of you are already carrying, even if you've never said it out loud. That's a golden cage. And here's what I've learned from a year sitting with your stories. The golden cage is the hardest one to leave, not because the bars are strong, but because they're not easy to spot. They're not easy to see. In fact, nobody can see them but you. So nobody validates your desire to move on. People tell you that you're lucky, that you should be grateful for everything you've got. You've got what everybody else wants. What they don't see is that you've actually got a transaction that's costing you more than you get back. The revolution isn't always the dramatic I quit moment. Sometimes it's internal work. It's looking at that job that everybody else thinks you should be grateful for and admitting to yourself, this arrangement is no longer worthy of me. And that's not arrogance, it's self-respect. Systemic gaslighting, and I use this word carefully, happens when an entire culture tells you you should be happy because of the money, the status, the package. And when you're not happy, the implication is that the problem must be you. It's not you. The problem is that you've been valued for what you produce and not for who you are. And enough of your comments have told me the same story in different contexts, in different countries, in different industries, in different language around the world, that I now believe it's not an individual problem at all, it's systemic. And the first act of resistance is naming it. So here's the action for this one. Write down in one sentence what your salary is actually costing you, not what it's paying for, what it's costing. That could be Sunday dread, time with your children, your health, whatever it is. You don't have to act on it yet. You just have to stop pretending that the cost column is empty. I want to tell you something that I haven't said on this channel before. When I started making these videos, I thought I was putting on the coach's hat. I was about to start the training at Henley Business School. I'd lived the experience. I knew the frameworks. I figured I'd share what I knew, and if it helped a few people along the way, that would be enough. What I didn't expect was how much you would teach me. I've read comments from people who are crying in their cars before work, people who've been gaslit so thoroughly they're apologising to their bullies, people who've left careers they spent decades building with no plan, just the knowledge that they couldn't survive one more day. And I've read comments from people who did the hard thing, who set the boundary, who walked away from the golden cage, who are now 6 months to a year later writing to me saying, I didn't know life could feel like this. You've shown me that the problem is bigger than any one toxic boss. It's in the systems, it's in the cultures, it's in the stories that we tell ourselves about what success looks like and what it costs. But you've also shown me something else, something I believe. Every single person who leaves a golden cage or reframes their worth or stops performing loyalty to a job that gives none back, that's not just an individual decision. That's a revolution happening one person at a time. And it's contagious because when one person does it, the person sitting next to them, the person who's also been pretending, notices. And maybe a few months later, they do it too. So if you've ever left a comment on one of my videos, thank you. You've changed me. You've changed what this channel is. You've shown me that my job here isn't to be the expert. It's to be the person who holds up a mirror and says, look, it's never just you. It's never been just you. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. Whether you've been here since the very first one, or it's your first time watching, there are 3 things that unhappy professionals are hiding. 1, they're hiding the fact that their best qualities, their loyalty, their accountability, their work ethic are being used against them. And that's not weakness, that's the vulnerability trap. 2, they're hiding the fact that they've achieved everything they were supposed to, and yet they still feel empty because they've been measuring their worth by their output, not their humanity. That's the skills versus soul conflict. And 3, they're hiding in plain sight, in jobs that look impressive from the outside, but feel like a slow disappearance from the inside, the golden cage. None of these things are your fault, but all of them are your responsibility now because you've seen them. And here's what I've learned from a year of this, from thousands of comments from all of you. The problem is systemic, but so is the solution. Every person who stops hiding, every person who says this arrangement is no longer worthy of me, every person who decides that their worth isn't located in their CV, it's located in their soul, every one of those people is changing the system from the inside out. And that includes you. if you're watching this and if any of this landed. Work should lift us up, not wear us down. I believe that wholeheartedly. Thank you for being here for a whole year, for teaching me what I didn't know I needed to learn. If this video struck a chord, do hit the like button. It helps more people find these conversations. And if you haven't subscribed already, do hit that button too. New videos every Wednesday. See you next time.